Because this is what it does. It appeals to like the male fantasy.
Hello. Hey, I remember
Hi.
to turn the mic on this time. We're drowning in professionalism now.
We did it.
Yeah. Welcome back. Maybe welcome for the first time. This is episode 2 of Spoilers Book Club. Also, episode 2, as we are covering Altered Carbon by Richard K. Morgan. So today we're looking over chapters 11 through 20. This has some of my favorite parts in it. It's heating up a little bit. Lots of fun.
Yes, super excited. Get this book going some more.
You've been sick, huh?
Yeah.
You're feeling better though?
I'm doing better.
Okay.
Can
If
you hear me?
if we have to move the mic closer to you, if your throat's still hurting or whatever, let me know.
Thank you.
I told you I was at Bookman's earlier today.
What'd you get? What books did you get?
I did. Oh, I got 2 books. So one I already have. I've read more times than I remember, but I've been wanting to start getting the hardback versions of Chronicles of
Ooh,
Amber.
you're gonna
Oh,
get
that's
really
super washed
close.
out. You can barely read it right there. So I
Prince
grabbed
of
Prince of
Chaos.
Chaos. So this is one of the Merlin books. So
Ooh.
the jacket is actually, the book cover is in pretty good shape on this one. So I don't know. I don't need it,
It's
but I
exciting.
wanted it. And I got you a copy of Jack of Shadows.
Aww.
I don't know when we're going to read this one together, but you're set now. I have my paperback that's falling apart, and this is one of the more recent reprints. Some company has the rights to his books now, and they're like popping out reprints of a lot of his works. So,
well, I've read the one Roger Zelazny book. I'm excited to read some more.
we read,
October.
yeah, A Night of Lonesome October.
Yes.
It's the first book we read together.
Mm-hmm.
The last year. Was it? No, it was more like December.
She said, "Good job."
Huh?
She said, "Good job, Jenny."
Good job. Oh, Jenny's with us today. Miss Tolls. Let's see how long I can restrain myself from reading out that full name.
It's like in the book I noticed he says Miriam Bancroft. Miriam Bancroft did this.
Yeah,
Many times. That. Maybe from more the audio version it sounds weird, but when you're actually reading it, it flows well.
Yeah. It might be. I haven't checked out the audio yet.
Yeah.
That'd be a good idea while I'm making long drives, but I just haven't made the jump to audiobooks yet.
A lot for me. Some people maybe not.
So, should we get into the book?
Yes.
Right.
Start at chapter 11.
Chapter 11.
Starting out with his hangover from Miriam.
Yeah, so that's a nice detail. Like, okay, so these party drugs that Miriam exudes from her body, because she can't have people take Viagra like normal. Yeah, there's some kind of a hangover. You don't feel real well.
Yeah. Yeah. So then he's like, I'm gonna go shopping, which seems odd for a guy. Go shopping, but I guess he learned something from his envoy.
He goes shopping for guns.
Yeah, right? No, he was just like basic shopping, right?
Oh.
For like jackets and stuff.
I thought that happened after he got the guns, but maybe I'm wrong. Because I thought he said at some point that he needed to go get a long coat to carry the guns.
Yeah, that's true. He did.
I think he went afterwards. But yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did go shopping.
There was that explanation of one of his old we call them military buddies, how she taught him to appreciate shopping.
Yeah,
And
how it satisfies a basic need in human beings.
like
which
a
I get that.
hunter-gatherer need,
Yeah,
which I kind of think is bullshit, but
I
it's
don't
like,
know. I feel that.
oh, I
It
don't.
could be.
It's like, this is
Disagree
a
to
task I have to
disagree.
get over with.
Get
Uh,
over. There's a bunch of like different weapons. There's this one called like a tick grenade, and I'm like, do they?
oh, tell me
all
about
tick?
that one.
I don't know. It's just like interesting. Like if you just mentioned it in like the various different weapons that I've never heard
Oh,
of that
okay.
are futuristic and cybery.
It was,
And yeah, it was fascinating.
it was describing some guns, maybe rifles that had wooden stocks on them, but he
Mhm.
described them as being like weird and exotic. But I think he might have just been explaining kind of what things we would think of as pretty common now.
Really?
Why would
They
have,
were ancient.
why, yeah,
Yeah.
why would they have
But no.
wood on
Yeah.
on their guns
It
in
looks
the
cool.
far future? 'Cause it looks cool, but that's why those were on the display case.
Yeah.
It just doesn't
true.
seem practical for
I don't know.
everything else they're doing.
I liked how they described all the guns. It was pretty cool.
I liked it better than the John Wick gun shopping scene in whatever the second one was. Just like
Mm.
way too cheesy. So there's a weird robot in the gun shop.
Mhm.
Is that what?
Oh,
like
he's
humanoid
he
robot?
wasn't, yeah, he was a cyborg, right? Or a
I think it was completely artificial, not like
artificial, but with humanistic qualities or something
just
like that. And then
generally
there was,
like a human shape and expressionless face.
mm.
Some automated thing for like meant for something else and repurposed just
Oh
as
yeah,
some
it seemed
weird
kind of
anachronism.
archaic or something
Yeah,
as far as
yeah.
robots go. And back then, wait, future then.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But
And then,
he gets a couple of pistols
mhm,
and a poison knife.
mhm,
I
and a
guess-
sweet jacket and a
then-
headband.
Yeah, he eventually goes and gets a sweet
Yeah.
jacket, and it really does sound like he looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
But then the other people
But
actually
must
do
be our
call.
earthly
Yeah,
prejudice.
characters kind of call him on it later.
Yeah.
So
That's funny. So
Jay's
then,
correcting us. There was a synthetic.
yeah, so then he's like getting chased down once again by some crazy person who wants to kill him after all that. And he's
The
like,
stiff dealer with the
yeah,
hallucinating thing.
yeah, yeah.
Well, it starts
he's
off
like
he's just like trying to sell him drugs, and he
working
projects the
ad or
images into
something.
his head,
Yeah.
and he doesn't like
He's
it. He
super
grabs the
pissed.
guy, and then he switches the projection to make it seem like his arm is stuck in some monster.
Yeah, and he's like, is there a moral difference
But he
between
knows.
that and Miriam Bancroft's sleeve? Like, they're just
It's
sticking stuff on you whether you want it or not.
it's not cheating as the wrong connotation, and for the sexual encounter, like she was cheating in a way, but I'm saying more as like unfair.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
I'm
like
gonna
giving
drug
you
this
drugs.
guy
It's
and
like
take advantage
flipping
of
you a
him.
roofie. Or just like throwing
you
an
got-
ad in your brain.
You
You
have to
can't.
stop doing that to me.
Yeah.
Highlights from chapter 11.
So that was my highlight.
That was
It was
really
pretty trippy to me. Like, you
So
just
getting
stick
into-
ads in your brain. Like, you get them already on your phone, but just like, boom.
no, yeah, it's even worse. I mean, they
Beam it
they are
in.
going into your head
Yeah, that's
from your
true.
phone.
Oh, good.
But then we'll look at it when you're reading a book. It's also somebody else's ideas going into your head.
Mm. Oh, so
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Chapter
So then
12.
let's go on to chapter 12.
I like the beginning where
he's like,
The author's explaining more about fragmenting
yeah.
the personalities, like having issues
I
because you're
was
being in so
wondering
many
that.
different bodies and different appearances,
Who
like
am
looking at
I?
different
What am
people
I
in the
doing?
mirror.
Yeah.
Um,
It's gonna be
but a
crazy.
particular thing about how it was written that I liked. So you're reading the book, you know
Aesthetic.
that you know that it's written in the first person,
Mm-hmm.
which is one of my favorites. Rogers Lasney writes first person. Like most everything I think I've read of his, maybe in his short stories.
First doggy.
First doggy,
Sometimes, right?
sometimes. Yeah, sometimes first dog. Um, but the author Richard K. Morgan in the beginning of chapter 12, he starts sliding back and forth into like first person and third person, and I think it was quite a great way to kind of show that fragmenting because he's talking about, it's usually I, and then some of the passages he starts saying he did this, but Kovacs is talking about him in Riker's sleeve, look at himself in the mirror or taking the weapons back off.
Mm-hmm.
He says he does it, not I do it.
Yeah.
It's like
He writes that
somewhat
very well.
subtle. Yeah,
I was impressed.
yeah, it's really done.
For sure. And then he goes back to like, he's kind of tripping back. He's like, oh, he's talking about the envoy and how they're talking about the forces of weaponry generally held a status between that of a toy and a personal fetish.
The weakness
And
of weapons.
she's like, yeah, it's like,
Virginia Vidara is training them about the weakness of weapons.
yeah,
So that gives way to a cool flashback scene. It's really
yeah.
short, but go
Yeah,
on.
she's like, oh, shoot me, go ahead. And this guy who just loves his gun. He's like, yeah, I'll shoot you. And he shoots at her, and of course she's like,
There's flashback
oh,
to
I'm right
Jimmy
here.
DeSoto when he had both eyes.
Yeah.
So she's
That's
what
not
she
how he lost it.
yeah. So in the show, one of the characters that they blend together to be Quell in the show is Virginia Vidara, but of course they're actually on completely different sides because they work for the Protectorate, Virginia and
Yeah, how
Kovacs,
did they
and the
get together?
envoys. This from the show
Yeah.
because they rewrote like
Oh.
amalgamated characters
Mhm.
because things tend to get dumbed down when they're turned into shows or films.
I
But
think
so that scene in the show, she's just like they're using what look like projectile weapons. In the book, it makes so much more sense. It's like it's a particle weapon. They turn it all the way down, and it's just gonna give her a sunburn if she does get hit.
Is that what it
But
was?
she doesn't even get hit because she's able to disarm this guy that's like 5 meters away and give him a little lecture about the weakness of weapons.
Yeah, you suck at getting sunburns. Yeah, so then it's like, well, now he's getting taken hostage. He goes to like see Louise as the mother.
Before
again,
that,
right?
so he's out and about and he notices he has a tail.
Yeah.
And so he gets in the taxi and he there's asked the taxi to take him to the worst part of town.
Yeah, take me there.
Yeah, and he
You sure?
gets in a scuffle with like 3 street thugs. But there's one that describes as being 2.5 meters tall and has some other characteristics of some like the freak fighters.
Yeah, and there was the older freak fighter who knew, like, oh man, this guy's serious.
That was the tall
He's
one,
gonna...
the
yeah.
experienced one. And he's
That's
also
interesting.
describe him about the grafting.
Oh,
So, I mean, right
yeah.
in today's age, we talk about people being roided out, like, oh, they're on steroids, they're on trend, they're so
Or they just
huge,
have,
these
like,
muscles are
implants.
natural. Yeah, so in the world that Kovacs is in, like, they just take probably artificial grown muscle and grafted in, so you don't even have to like do the work and grow it yourself. So it's like steroids on another level. Steroids on steroids.
Steroids on steroids on steroids.
The concept of steroids on steroids.
Or just slap a muscle on.
So there's some more interesting world building, and then also you see in her mind's eye, as we're reading, Kovacs like beat up some more people, so that's fun. But then
Little
we're saying
scrappy
after
guys,
that,
they're gonna get you, and then he goes see Louise.
yeah.
I'm getting close to.
So he slips that tail. The guy who's following him probably gets assaulted or killed by street people, but Kovacs doesn't care. That's just the way he rolls.
Yeah.
And then he's heading back to Jerry's close quarters. He's gonna go see what
Go to Jerry's.
info Louise has gotten for him.
For the mother.
Yeah, because he's pretending to be Irene Elliott. Is that her name?
I believe so.
Irene Elliott.
Yeah.
So there's all that, and as you said, then he gets kidnapped. He gets envoy napped.
Kill Louise.
Louise is dead.
Real dead, right? Well, she's Catholic, so she can't come back.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they killed her sleeve, but they're just not going to get brought back anyway because of the whole Catholic thing.
Just stuff
we
him in a
discussed
trunk.
before.
Get in there.
He gets
take
stuffed
him
in
somewhere.
a trunk with dead Louise, and they go traveling.
Yeah. It's just. Oh, then it's just the hardest part of the book.
I know. Yeah.
It's like,
So.
ugh. And they're
That-
like, keep calling him Riker. And he's like, who's Riker?
Yeah. I think he somewhat
And-
knows who Riker is at this point, but he's playing dumb.
Yeah.
He's not Riker.
He's like, I'm not
and
Riker.
he's also not
I'm
Irene, but he's
Irene.
pretending to be Irene.
And you're like, okay. Yeah. And he's like, how do they get information? He's thinking about the different methods of torture, and then they just jump right into that in chapter 13.
Yeah, so the torture gets so bad, like, I don't think we can discuss the details on YouTube. I think it's like,
Yeah.
you can discuss some pretty horrible stuff,
He's
but
changed
there's
into a woman.
like weird
That's
lines.
not torture. He makes that sound pretty good. But then it just all downhill from there. It's really
Yeah,
awful.
sometimes it's like
So
torture to death.
and then brought back.
Reboot him.
And then just keep doing that
Yeah.
over and over again. So then he's like, of course, tripping out. And he's tripping out with his buddy Jimmy.
Yeah, he hallucinates Jimmy again.
Yeah.
And so that's like horrible things for in his subjective experience, like days and days, but he's ascertained that he's in virtual
He's like,
because the
Jimmy's like-
location is wrong.
Yeah, and he's like, viral strike. That's what Jimmy's saying.
So
Viral strike.
after all that, it kind of turns into like a good guy, bad guy. It's bad guys, good gal. But after he has apparently disclosed through the torture at some point, he's connected with Bancroft, that he's maybe an envoy, and he also stopped his heart. And
then
so
he's like,
the
that's just
interrogators
enough.
go,
And he wakes up, right?
maybe we shouldn't be doing this to this guy because we're gonna get
in trouble. They start shaking in their
real.
paint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he bluffs. He says that he is an envoy. At least he was. He's trained, but no longer active.
He's
And
like, I'm
he's
still
not
here.
on good terms with the protectorate.
I
But
don't know.
he threatens them with all that, and they're like, "Okay, well, we'll take you
The
somewhere.
head
and we'll check
honcho,
out.
I'm assuming.
We'll check out."
He
and see
talks
if
with
you're real."
her at some like boat scene or something, and he's like, you don't know what you're messing with.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't believe you, but all these other people do.
But
So
I believe you enough not to continue. So
yeah. So he's like, the pain, the humiliation, the damage. As one would say, that's a lot of damage.
like,
Yeah, a lot of damage.
we jumped to 14.
Whew.
So they let him out of virtual. He's
He
back in
wakes
Riker's
up.
sleeve.
Yeah.
And then actually Trep, who is the probably female in the synth combat sleeve that helped him be abducted from Jerry's and then transported to wherever the place was that they were torturing him.
Yeah, I was trying to make that connection.
Yeah, they get him or her and another guy. They get him in a car. They're going to take him somewhere to check out and say, like, oh, is this really the guy who it is?
Yeah, she's like, you got
She's
the
like, they're gonna
clown
go
scared.
take him
That
to
doesn't
see-
work with me.
Yeah, they're taking to see Ray,
Yeah.
whoever Ray is.
Right.
It doesn't turn out real well for the people in the
We got RD'd.
or in the not the cab, but the car that they're taking, the flying car.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty
He convinces
it's like
the
signature
chauffeur.
gruesome like shootout fight scene in there.
Yeah, well, that's like in the next service chapter.
Well, in the car.
Yeah, in the car too.
The one in the well, yeah, so let's
RD'd
go to,
him, and then he
like-
convinced the chauffeur to be like, hey, how about you just get a little misdemeanor and I jump out of this car? Because that would be your best option. And he
so
does
here
it.
we're gonna do a little bit of reading before he gets that far with the driver.
Okay.
He's in the back. He's like the trap in the synthetic is back there, and then the other guard. And we'll jump right in the middle of the action. It says, my hand closed on the blaster at her belt, knocked out the safety and triggered it. The being seethed into life, cutting downward, and a large quantity of the woman's right leg burst open in wet ropes of flesh before the blowback circuits cut the blast. Like, oh, I can see that. But it gets worse. She howled and cried more of rage than of pain, and then I dragged the muzzle of the weapon up, triggering another blast diagonally across her body. The blaster carved a channel a handbreadth wide, right through her and into the seat behind. Blood exploded across the cabin. So it was like diagonally, like hand width across her torso, just disappears, and then blood's exploding all over in the back. But then in the next paragraph, beside me the synthetic woman bubbled inside, and then the section of her torso that the head was attached to sagged away from the left side of the body. So it's just like the two halves going. Her forehead came to rest against the window she had been looking out.
Like Fruit Ninja. Cut it.
Like
Fruit.
Flashback to Fruit Ninja mobile games from
2000s.
2002.
Really?
Yeah. So then, as you were talking about, it's like trying to get the driver to go down. It's probably like a limo setup with like a divider or something, and he just shoots through it.
He's
and
not
starts
that
threatening
scared of
him.
me.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I guess I gotta
Somebody's
melt
more
her head.
afraid than me. Yeah.
Yeah. But he comes up with a good alternative to cover story for the driver. He's like, just land in a way to get you arrested, and then maybe they won't kill you for me escaping.
Just get a little misdemeanor and you'll be alright.
It'll be fine. They'll bail
It'll
you
be
out.
like
It's all
a
good.
excuse. Yeah, so then in chapter 15, I like how that first description of rain, the gun metal sheen surface of the everything with water on it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of water sounds
I
like.
think it's shiny and metallic,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
So this is like part of my favorite little bit of the book here in the middle. It's fun. So it reminds me of nice and violent. It reminds me of an episode of Archer where he's just like rampage.
Yes.
I still have to
Get them.
show
Eat
you
them
more of
all.
Archer.
Yes. 'Cause
It's awesome.
yeah, so RD to everyone. He learns what RD means. And we all learn that.
Look at that. So he's returning to Jerry's, but it's daytime.
Yeah.
So like
And he just
the
breaks my robot.
another
Like that
great
robot.
turn of phrase is describing the neon signs, like how they look in the day. Um, so that it looks like a garish brooch on an old gown.
Mm. Yep.
Just looks worse, even worse during the day. And I just said he's heading into the
Octopus is gone
yeah he's heading into the
to Jerry's.
to Jerry's, and the security octopus
He just goes right back at it.
to
Just like,
disarm him. He's just doing his job. So he gets shot, and that's what made you sad. Is that the saddest part so far?
the robot. All the other people, whatever.
Poor,
Poor robot.
poor robot. Rampage.
Yes.
So
And then he gets Jerry. And
He shoots his way in. He gets
With
Jerry. He's interrogating him. He doesn't really want to say anything. So he like burns somebody's head off. Like destroys their stack. There's no putting them in another sleeve. They're gone.
already.
And Jerry's like, he was just security. He only worked here.
Yeah.
But he gets more information about Riker and Ortega from Jerry.
Yeah, and then he just like, Jerry, take me back to the facility.
Yep.
I want to go back there. So
And then
he's,
on the
like,
way out, he
shivering.
real deaths everybody else that was already
Yeah,
laying on the
just-
floor.
This
just
is
more-
personal.
More
This is
character
personal.
development.
I'm going for it.
Yeah, because those people, I don't know, maybe they would have come
I don't
after him, maybe
blame
they
him.
wouldn't. I think the whole thing was more personal than
That torture,
investigative.
yeah, just
Yeah,
that's personal. Yeah. So he just went for it, and then he goes back down the elevator with the shivers. He's like, "All right, it's a little scary. You can get back into these people."
yeah. Actually, scared going back to the place where he got tortured the last time.
Yeah.
But he pulls the old like shackled Wookiee
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
from
Jerry's like,
Star Wars: A New Hope. They walks in pretending
that he's
that he's
under arrest.
that
Or
Kovacs is the prisoner,
yeah,
and Jerry's yelling at a lot of people, waving guns around, and
he's like,
It's-
"You better."
yeah, they're arguing. The Dr. Miller's like,
Yeah.
no, they can't be in here. It has to be sedated to be in here.
Mhm.
And then when somebody actually goes to give him the hypo spray, like, okay, time to go. He grabs the guns out of
Should they give a
Jerry's.
microwave. Good.
Yeah, grabs the guns out of Jerry's waistband and is back to rampage.
Rampage. Because it's personal.
It's great. So, and then he leaves with Miller's head. Was the doctor involved in like setting
It's
him
walking
up
out
for
of
that.
here.
Yeah, we don't know what he wants to head with, but he's the only person that he didn't RD in the facility. He, like, shot the
I
whole
was
thing up.
wondering that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he even killed Jerry. He deserves it,
Jerry.
but he thought for some reason he was gonna get out of that alive.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it sounds like yeah. Pretty legal facility he had. Yeah, but Jerry deserved it.
then the next chapter, or chapter
Maybe.
16, they have the complete like flipping
It's like
the
I was trying to
mood
go
of the
to
scene.
sleep. Yeah, or he did get
'Cause it's
sleep.
like,
Woke up.
We're at the clinic.
Mm-hmm.
It just killed everybody, destroyed the place, and then
Carnage.
we're at lovely Sunsetch House again, watching tennis.
There's Miriam in her little skirt again.
Yeah, so the
Playing
juxtaposition,
tennis.
like switching the scenes, was good.
Yeah.
It's like refreshing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely enjoyed you playing. Little flirt.
Yes, how? Something like at some point she says that it's written that she notices he's watching, and was like a little bit of a smirk or something
Yeah.
of recognition. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah. How obvious is it when men are like checking you out? Do you think you know, or is it,
Yeah.
or do you only know when you notice? So there's all those times that you don't notice, and maybe it's happening too.
Mm.
You say it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Even people are trying not to be obvious.
Yeah. Maybe as I'm younger, I didn't really notice as much, but maybe, I don't know.
Miriam thinks she
Ginny
knows.
knows. She knows.
We learn a little bit about martyrweed.
Murderweed?
Martyrweed.
Oh,
This
the
little plant,
plant.
an off-world
Yeah.
plant.
And then the
With
lawyer was
weird-
basically like, you are being less than subtle. Let's go talk with the plant and Bancroft.
And Bancroft's upset because he's having to talk to police and buy people off
So he's gonna try
because
to
of the rampage.
I'm pissed. He has to
Yeah.
pay for you.
The martyrweed's
Of all
interesting.
his
It like
riches.
soaks up sound. It responds to sound. And
Yeah.
so they put it in these rooms to kind of
I think he's hoping to
privacy.
do that so he can like chill him out. Like maybe he'll feel it for this plant and like be calm. No?
I don't know. There's just like a secret place to have discussions.
Mm.
Soundproofing. But it's off-world soundproofing.
Hmm.
Meh.
Maybe.
There's a little more than like world building with Kovac's discussion with Bancroft. And I'm learning a little more about Bancroft. Points out that Bancroft is older than the colony on Harlan's World, which is where Kovac is from.
Oh.
So he's been around longer than that culture, that place where he lives, or where Kovac was from. And Bancroft talks more about what it's like to be married to somebody for 250 years.
Yeah.
Kind of claims that neither of them care that they fuck around.
Yeah. He's just like, we just have respect for each other, and
I don't even know what the point is of what they're doing, but let's get the phrase
veneration.
purchased sexual release.
Yeah.
And they use that. Hey, it just needs some purchased sexual release.
Yeah. And Kovac just kind of comes off like really defensive of Miriam. Like, how could you? How could
Yeah.
you just
He doesn't quite.
do that?
I don't think he quite like lets on that he knows whether or not he knows.
Yeah.
But they
He's like, is there respect after 200 years? Like, would it be after cheating, or would it be
I was more interested too with the
200 years?
how many hundreds of years in the future this is, and some technology is advanced and then other things it's not so much. But Bancroft says that the young of spirit and the adventurous like all left Earth, and it sort of suggests maybe it was like why it's sort of stuck, not hasn't advanced as much as you might expect it to have.
Yeah, and he's like, the appetites of the flesh get more over time. I'm like, but they don't really get into like what his appetites are. Just that he goes to the whorehouses and yeah. But before all that, he's like, you put me in the sleep, you brought me here.
Oh yeah,
What's your
Kovac is
problem?
kind of angry
just
and animated
pissed.
and all that.
Yeah.
Do you think is the mic picking up Sophie? I'll have to be quiet.
I'm just barking.
You're barking? You talked to the wrong point. I don't know if it was her or you.
Oh, I think it was her. She's gonna tell us our stalkers are out there.
Hey, Jenny, if you're still there, are you hearing the dog in the background? Let me know. But another detail, kind of depressing thing that's illuminated in the discussion with Kovac and Bancroft here is, so we have the colony ships are sent out, and if I get it right, they send off equipment to like with bodies, and then yeah, Sophie's getting picked up.
Oops.
Maybe I go get her to be quiet for a second.
So
Here, watch this for a second.
I wrote a blog post a while ago about why I fucking hate books. Because this is what it does. It appeals to like the male fantasy.
Okay, we have
All better.
we have another guest in the room, and we'll see if she'll be quiet.
She's tiny.
She's not tiny.
She's tiny.
She's
compared to
50 pounds and full of
Hugo.
fury. Well, anyway, so the colony ships were sent off, and I think they were gonna like needle cast people into them, or there's the details, like different ways to do it. But anyway, they're sending off the colony,
Like,
and
out of here.
by the time that they get out there, it's gonna take a really long time for the ships to actually travel to where they're getting. And they thought that they were going to
Lord.
freedom and setting up a new free worlds, but then before they got there, the protectorate had been set up to clamp down and rule over them. It was like really depressing.
Yeah. And then he's like, okay, what about these sleeves? He kind of lets him go on about his old memories. And then he's like, so what about this sleeve? Like, why did you put me in Riker's sleeve? Like, you knew about this. And he's just like, basically, I found it kind of just
Karmic.
Yeah.
It was a move.
It's just a move. And he's like, I've just been dealing with this for all the other chapters.
Riker was on the list. Riker's sleeve was on the list. And like, oh, this is connected to Ortega. I don't particularly like her. Yeah, we'll do this. So maybe there's not much more reason than that. It's just like
I
he
just
was
lied to you
screwing
about my
with her because
lawyers.
he can.
And then he's like,
Yeah.
you're so childish. And he's like, well, that's like,
So hold on while we take the dog toys away.
yeah.
Oozing professionalism.
Yeah. So he's like, yeah, you don't need to judge about sins of being childish. Yeah. Anyways, I thought that was interesting.
Okay. We're up to chapter 17.
Yeah. He's like, me and Miriam, we have an understanding. And yeah. She has her appetites. I have mine. End of story.
Murdering
Move on
hookers
with-
that look like my wife.
Yeah.
That's his appetite.
Yeah. We'll get to that later, right?
We-
What kind of?
Kovacs found out that Elizabeth Elliot and which was the one that Bancroft's wife like beat up in the bathroom. Anyway, they both looked like her
yeah.
apparently. Yeah.
Just beat snot out of
So we
her.
figured like, oh, that's his type.
Yep.
Okay.
She's like, I don't know. If you have a wife or somebody that can like change their sleeve for you or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess he just likes that type.
Well, it's because of what he does to them.
Yeah, I guess he can't. I could do that to his wife because she could just get new sleeves.
Yeah,
She has
it's
a whole
weird.
bunch of them on an island. Well, I guess he doesn't know that, supposedly.
Right.
But, ah, they got a bunch of tanks.
Weird old
Weird.
people.
It's different when you do it to someone else.
Chapter 17, Kovacs goes to the police station to see Ortega.
Yep. He's like, I'll just go see you. I did nothing wrong at all. She's not
Nothing
gonna hurt
even
me. I'm in her
happened.
booth sleeve. I'm fine.
There's a mention of the technology is calling subsonics, like keeping everybody mellow in the front of the police
Yeah,
station.
that's trippy.
He's feeling like it's hitting him. And then the guy, the receptionist guy, cop, like he's all happy and mellow.
But then these other guys walk in with like this stuff on their face or something, and it keeps them from. I'm like, why doesn't the receptionist have it?
I think it was just talking about an expression that they're making. It's a description of their expression.
Okay, they just bust in there real quick because he's like, "Oh, tell Ortega I'm here."
Yeah, like they were just not
like,
there long enough.
Just give me
to
your
get the
weapons,
effects, whatever.
And he's like, "Here you go."
Yeah, the guy was super cheery.
Okay. You can imagine him just being like, "Nice, sweet weapons."
It is funny that he tells the front desk guy that he's there to see Ortega. I was like, who is it? Like, oh, it's Elias Riker.
It's Riker. Hey, yes.
And that's when those guys come out.
And they're like, that's not Riker.
Let's see how it is. What was the verbiage that you were recalling?
Like a spray or something. Maybe they just like.
Their faces were painted with identical glowers.
Oh, so wasn't that
like,
they had like
they had
tie?
They had unhappy faces. The painted was just
They're
a
just
metaphor.
so not chill. Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think earplugs would be like more obvious counter to
that
some kind of subsonics or whatever.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's not
Maybe.
your ears that hit you. It's like, are they vibrating your body, making you happy?
Sleeve magic.
Sleeve magic.
Yeah. So then he goes to see Ortega. They take him to Ortega, right?
Yeah, she goes see him. Then they go through an elaborate thing to go and interrogate Cadman.
Yeah. She's like, you did all this stuff. And he's like,
yeah,
sorry. Not really.
She's really like disappointing and barbaric in interrogation. She gets nowhere. I think.
Yeah.
Cadman is. I find that he's so fragmented that he looks like the Patchwork Man.
Yeah, that's
in virtual.
Really
I kind of like have a hard time. There's so many different pieces that he's made out of.
Kind of trans looking. He looks like
multiracial, but not like blended. It's like a puzzle pieces put together.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes me think of Scanner Darkly, Philip K. Dick, and then the rotoscoping that they did on that for the film. They had this technology to like mask people's identities, and they just like flipped and switched their faces and their traits, sort of, and made it amorphous so you couldn't identify somebody. Except for it seemed like he was more like static, but it still makes me think of that.
Yeah,
kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah, and then he just kind of like using these like poems and things, and he's just kind of confusing him. But then he does all out threaten.
He demonstrates being something of a learned man. Like he knows these Quellist poems from Kovach's world. So it's like they exchange a little bit on that level.
From there.
And I don't remember if they say they might. I don't think it was like an Earth guy or something.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, so it's like he's fragmented so much that his own imagination of what he looks like or his personal identity in virtual is like puzzle pieces and a bunch of different stuff, but it doesn't bother him either.
So many sleeves.
Yeah, it's had so many sleeves. It's like he's reached a state of enlightenment in his fragmentation.
Yeah, because Kovach just like looks like a sexier version of himself, and Ortega too.
These were your words, not Morgan's, but
yeah.
Yeah, so I think Ortega is just like threatening him and kind of knocking him around, whereas I think he's somewhat of a reached a certain level of enlightenment. Not makes him a good person. It's like it's a self-actualization. He's just like an evil, violent guy. But that's who he is, and he's
and then he makes
re-sleeved
like
so many
a
times.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Then
think
he
quite
like
getting at the point, but I think that's like the enlightenment and self-actualization is maybe not the unqualified good like that's generally attached to that.
because he
It's
said
just
the
a
voice
different level of
that
being a different thing.
said altered carbon would free us from the cells of our flesh. Is that what you're getting at? Like that's what he was saying
So
or
that
doing.
he's very
The vision said we
very
would be
much
angels.
knows himself and is just like,
Yeah.
this is what I am and this is what
I'm
I
a
do.
cyber.
It just makes him much more
Interpreter.
more dangerous, for whatever it is he's going after.
Yeah.
But
He's like, can you
Ortega's
come seeking blame?
no good at interrogation. Yeah.
Yeah. And then she gets all pissed off that he's making threats. Ortega does. She's like, that's my sleeve.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. And then they just hang up with them. And then
Jenny offers, instead of enlightened, said transcendent. Like,
yeah.
That's kind of. I mean, I like that description also, but I don't know if that's even a different thing. But yeah, he's transcended the locked in identity of a single person.
He did all the yoga.
He did all the
He's the yoga master. But yeah, that's a good word.
But the only thing that we actually get like possibly constructive from the interrogation is just the Cadman says that he wasn't necessarily supposed to kill Kovac when he met him, found him in the hotel. He was just supposed to abduct him, take him somewhere else. He was only needed to kill him if he was too much trouble to take. That's really the only information we get that, and that Ortega is like not that great of a cop.
So then they're like trying to figure out. Yeah, she was gonna sit back.
Like, okay. Well, if hitting him doesn't give me the information I want, I just don't know what to do.
Yeah. So then he's like, they're trying to figure out how can we get him, and then I like this. He's like, he'll close up faster than an unpaid hooker hole. This is so funny.
Yes, Ortega. That jumps us to chapter 18, and Kovac decides that maybe Cadman's lawyer is a lead. Figure out who he's working for. So really, they go to the lawyer's office, Ortega and Kovac pretends to be Riker, and they bug the place.
Of
Cadman's lawyer's office.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of stuff just goes through lawyers or something like that.
Yeah. So they bug his place, make threats. Kovac makes up a crime that doesn't exist.
And they bug the place.
They bug the place and then they go to eat.
They're like, they see all these numbers he calls into, and then it hangs up, and they're like, oh, well, let's just go eat.
Yeah, so the information has to be
home food,
kind of unencrypted or deciphered. So they go and find a restaurant.
Yeah.
So we just get like through the story, we're getting more instances where Kovac and Ortega are kind of bonding, building rapport, and
she's talking about the whales and how they knew more about
in the future we can talk to whales,
and they tell us things about other Martians or
in the racial memory, whatever that is. The whales know about the Martians. They remember them coming to Earth. So we don't get too much about that, but Like, okay, we figured out how to talk to whales.
Yeah. And then at the very end, she's like, oh, that other number was Bancroft residence.
Oh,
Like,
he's skipping
what?
ahead.
Yeah, that's what she says in the end of that chapter.
Yeah, but we didn't talk about the restaurant.
Oh, sorry.
Watanabe. The old guy that like ran a bar restaurant place from Kovash Youth on Harlan's World. Watanabe. Just like locally, just kind of a mysterious guy. Think that he was involved in some wars. Maybe he's an envoy. Has some crazy stories. But I like the little exchange that Kovash remembers with them. Kovash finally like asks him at a quiet time at his bar, like, what kind of advice can I get from you? And Watanabe responded, I should advise you, he asks, share with you the wisdom that brought me to this. I was like sitting in his rundown bar on the coast. And Kovash says, well, yes. And Watanabe responds, well, no. And that's it. And that's probably really the best wisdom that he could have imparted to Kovash, and not actually something any more fleshed out. Just like don't just assume like why do you want to be this? What do you think I actually know? Like I don't know anything. Just go and do your own thing, maybe. The unsaid is maybe more useful, more powerful than if he went into details like, oh yeah, you should go and do this. What is Socrates claimed that he was the smartest man because he knew that he knew nothing, something to that effect.
Yeah,
it might be kind of where that was going. Might do that. But the restaurant that Ortega and Kovash, there's called the Flying Fish.
yeah.
It's like on a ship and it goes up and down. And I picture, I think it's not right because there's like bigger, there's more people on it. But I'm still reminded of like the flying restaurant in Fifth Element. Like the guy gets food from out his apartment window.
Makes me think of well, I can't think of the name right now. I'll get to it.
Okay. Yeah. So after they eat, in the book, Kovash says that he's satisfying. I don't remember that part wrong, but I gotta look at it again.
Good.
Contented.
Contented.
He's as contented as not as he had been.
Violence and
Was it
some food.
Bancroft?
I feel all better.
Marion Bancroft. He probably won't have the same hangover from the food as he did from the party drugs in her pussy. Yeah.
Yeah. So
where those calls went, there was the Bancroft residence. There was the fight drome in New York. Like it went to multiple places.
oh yeah.
So the lawyers tied into the fight drome and also somebody at Sun Touch House.
Do you have a landline or something?
There's another spot that we're gonna get to this chapter or the next, where there's mentioning of phone numbers, which I think is pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's just so archaic. Like
Numbers, they work. They've been working for a long time.
I don't know, 500 or more years.
Even Matrix. See all those
Phone numbers. Using dial-up.
Yep.
Does anybody remember what a dial-up modem sounds like anymore?
Oh, yes. Chapter 19.
Tell me about it.
So they go virtual with someone.
They go to the fight.
They go to
drum.
the fight center or something
they meet
like that.
Creepy.
And they're like, we're just gonna check for bombs.
Yeah.
But really,
meet
they want to
Carnage.
check out the center.
MC Carnage.
Yeah, yeah. His name.
I think it's wonderfully depicted in the show, I thought.
Yeah.
I get Max Headroom
Yeah, and
playing
they go by
Carnage.
all these like characters, and one has like multiple limbs, and the other one's like a fighter. He was like, ooh, I would want to be that fighter. He has like all this neurochem like stuff that's like internal.
Yeah,
faster,
they're just trying to tech
stronger.
ninja.
Yeah.
So that he had been in bodies like that before. He had bought one like that, and when he was a
Wants to
kid,
be
that's
like
what he
that.
wanted.
Yeah.
So we don't. Growing up, it's not about the cars and the boats we want. It's the
body.
jacked up synthetic combat clone.
So that got me to thinking, like, does everyone seem like real estate? Like, you're walking down the street and you're just like, ooh, that's a nice sleeve. I would like that to be me. It's like a whole nother level of one desire.
There's more to go after, but it's cost issues.
Yeah.
So clones, and then there was the last first quarter of the book. In our last podcast, we're talking about Irene Elliott.
Mm-hmm.
She went to, like the virtual prison or just in storage on stack for crimes. And then some corporate lady bought her body and like wears it every other month.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, gets you to thinking.
It's more commodities to be traded. This is a
And
continuing.
then get them to just fight.
Continuing to have that picture painted of how little value life has.
Mm-hmm.
Which seems somewhat counterintuitive. It's like people can nearly immortal, and life just has less and less value.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's shown in a lot of different ways through these stories.
Yeah, so then it's kind of, that chapter's not super too much in there. They're kind of just wandering around looking for bombs, and so it seems like
it's
a
on
lot
some
of-
old ship. The fighting pits and the arena is incorporated, built into this old ship, but behind the scenes it's high tech. So rusty and old and rotten for where the spectators go, the guests.
Yeah.
But behind the
It's like
scenes,
super expensive. and
yeah,
You can only go there.
the clone
Virtual.
body is waiting, and then
Yeah.
they put on crazy fights.
Yeah.
So,
Sounds pretty cool.
and Carnage is a weird character, very like illustrated through his choice of being in a very crude synthetic sleeve. I think that's pretty notable there. Most people are trying to get into like the most realistic, most practical thing, and he's like wearing a rubber suit nearly.
Mm-hmm.
It's described as.
It's interesting how Ortega is just like, oh, come with me. We'll go do this thing.
Right.
We're going to figure this out.
And Kovac is
Together.
pretending to be Riker again in this.
He's
Like
still-
he did that at
yeah,
the
and-
lawyer's office, and then here,
Yeah.
like they're traveling around
almost
being
like
buddy again.
on this date, and then he's like, she drops him off. This is chapter 20. She drops him off, and he's like, can't do that. I'm just still reeling from my cocktail of Miriam Bancroft. I need to like chill it out a little.
Back.
Like, whew.
Yeah, last
feel the
chapter for
tension.
today, he gets dropped back off at the Hendrix.
Mm-hmm.
So a time away from Ortega, but she had told him that he should be around the next day. But somebody's waiting for him when he gets back.
Somebody.
Somebody. Curtis.
But then Curtis is there.
Curtis is waiting outside in the
Curtis
car.
is looking a little
Just gonna
tweaked out.
give him the business. He's looking
Something
drugged
hard.
up and aggressive and also has an erection.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about that time you said
Oh, but
you
then
thought somebody in jiu-jitsu class had an erection. And like,
it's
no,
just...
that's just a cup.
Oh gosh. What is this hard
Maybe-
thing hitting me?
Maybe Curtis is just wearing a cup.
Maybe. But also on his way up before he does too, because he gets zapped again by the ads.
Oh,
And he's
yeah.
just like, hey, Curtis.
Well,
I just
yeah,
got
the
some
steamy ads,
really
which was also
steamy
where
ads.
the mention of the phone number was, which I thought was funny.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like for that house, that like a. I don't
He was
know what
like,
we were
I feel like
calling that.
she
It
was giving
like
me a
the
head.
mental cast.
Yeah. I know, it's intense.
Electronic
phone
directed
number.
hallucinations, which are ads. You gotta get those ad blockers
Beam
installed
me up,
on
Scotty.
your
Ready?
stack.
Yeah. So then, yeah, he's like, oh, he's all drugged up. And he's like, you don't want to rush a first date? Because Curtis is like, take me to your room. Take me there. No.
Very
He's
lacking in
like,
subtlety.
Okay.
So they go to the bar instead.
Yeah, he's like, let's go to
The
this
bar sounds like a cool place.
It does.
They have like the wall
Oh.
opens and go over there. They call it what, Midnight
There's
Lamp.
a robot in the center.
Midnight
and,
Lamp bar. And the
yeah.
robot's made out of clocks.
Yeah, and it's like
Which different
clock
clocks?
figure going round, kind of like that spoilers book club thing. Except that's counterclockwise.
Who says that rogue erections are a problem now? Just finding it's a Jenny in the chat.
Progress to a point. It's just everyone's got an erection.
Is there anything? Is there any such thing as a rogue erection?
You tell me.
I don't know.
What's happened? You're just
The
getting
timing?
zapped in the brain all the time with the.
Maybe the most honest part of the human body.
Just telling the truth out there. Messed up.
The bar sounds cool.
Yeah.
Curtis is an idiot.
Yeah, Curtis.
But he's there.
Like, I'm gonna
He's
get
gonna get
you.
an answer.
You
He wants
tell
an answer
my
on
lady.
Miriam's.
Tell the lady in the house.
Yeah, on her Miriam's proposal to drop the investigation and go spend time on Love Island with all the clones.
What will it be?
Then he tries to fight Kovash.
He
Goes
just
very
breaks
poorly
his
for
nose
him. Yeah,
against the
steps nose
clock.
up on the bar. And I think there's a little bit of an unnecessary
like the ins and outs.
explanation by Kovash to Curtis about envoys. Like,
Yeah.
just telling them how badass they are. Like,
Super cool, okay?
yeah.
Back
you
way,
should do
little
that.
wimp.
I think it's fine. They already like demonstrated that, but maybe there's just a little bit of a
Character love.
character love. I was thinking, maybe sometimes when you write something, you're just like, oh, this sounds good. You got to put it in. You just feel like you have to put it in somewhere. I was thinking like the author came up with a description of the envoys of being like, oh, it's a reassembled human. They break them down, and but it was harder for Kovash not to kill him than it was to do what he did too. Like, we get it. It's fun and it's cool thing about the character, but I think him just like saying it at that point, it's like on the side of showing, not telling. It's like just show it. We already thought he was badass. We don't need to verbalize it quite so much there.
I think he should have tried out the island first.
Test drive.
Just a little test
Try before you
drive.
buy.
Yeah.
They just could have like negotiated that.
Yeah. But he
I
was like,
think-
no, I'm into this.
I think you can write that fan fiction.
Yeah.
You can handle that on your own.
Yeah. Maybe not.
Maybe you already did. Maybe you already did.
So then
Curtis gets his ass kicked.
he runs away, basically.
Ortega's actual police partner showed us up.
He's like,
Rodrigo
hey,
Batista.
heard you're down here.
Yeah, the timing's
Ben,
funny,
who
but
ain't Ben?
Ben? Who's Ben?
Isn't that her work partner? Ben?
Rodrigo Batista.
Oh, I don't know why I have Ben in here.
I don't know why you have
I
Ben
talk my notes.
in there.
I failed.
Yeah, to get more Riker background, how he went down, and we're kind of getting fed that piecemeal as we go, which is better than maybe a full download in one spot in the book. But yeah, just
Basically,
working up in Seattle, shouldn't have been, maybe killed some people.
Riker
maybe-
he wasn't a bad guy. He was a good guy that just went too far. Yeah. So he's
Typical
saying,
cop talk.
yeah.
Riker sounds like
You
as
can be
bad
a
of a
good
guy
guy.
as
Just go too far.
Kovacs or worse, but just not as good at it.
Who's that?
Riker,
Oh. Yeah. Yeah.
like at least
Similar.
as morally corrupt as
Kovacs just
Kovacs.
talks more, I
Kovacs is
guess.
just a lot better at it.
Yeah, he has more training.
Better trained.
Yeah.
I
It's
think
like, he just made some mistakes,
the ability
man.
to quit smoking.
He's a good guy, but don't let Ortega try
Mhm.
to be with the sleeve.
And right at the end of that chapter, we also find out another superpower of the envoys. They can at will sober themselves up. Did you
Yeah,
catch that?
I didn't.
Yeah.
He was just like, oh, I went upstairs, and then I was just
Oh,
like,
we're going to employ the envoy conditioning and sober up. I mean,
pretty powerful.
and he can choose to. It's not like he never can get drunk. It's not like so hard to get drunk like Wolverine. Just constantly processing it out. It's like selectively. But in that way, you might think that he could also choose to be drunk without ingesting alcohol.
Yeah.
Maybe.
He's taking good care of his sleeve for Ortega.
He stopped smoking. He's sobering himself up after
Yeah.
drinking.
I don't know.
Could be
Riker's
useful.
getting a good deal. That sleeve usage.
He's getting a little knocked around.
Oh,
His
yeah,
sleeve. Nothing too bad yet.
yeah.
That brings us to
concludes
the
it.
end of chapter 20. So we're halfway through. We'll have 2 more episodes on this book after that. I don't know what we'll be reading after we're done with Altered Carbon.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, there's other books in the series, but we might jump to something entirely different. That'll bring us into October, mid-October, roughly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll let you know how it goes. Thanks for listening. I hope you're enjoying reading this book. Next time, what are we reading up to? Chapters 20 through... It's going to be in the description on this video.
Okay, 21 through 34.
21 through
Is that correct?
34.
Yeah.
It was like a couple extra chapters from what we've done before, but the block is still only roughly 100 pages, so should be pretty easy to get through. And that's it. We have a